Hey there, James Bauckman from Peace Centers. Some of you may have seen some of the earlier videos that I've made. Our nonprofit has been focused on, we run a child care program in Bellingham, Washington, with the intent of being able to deliver food and resources and support to families in need. And our program is currently closed down, so my classroom now has been turned into a video production studio so that we can create online content, parenting help, childcare videos, things like story times and circle times, etc., as well as making a training to take educators and childcare workers and give them an opportunity to get licensed childcare in their home so they can make a living, take care of essential workers' children, help the essential workers get to work to be able to take care of us. So what I've been doing is I'm giving away inventions, ideas, new systems that will help society, help the world. I'm doing that because I feel like I'm going to spend my life working for peace centers and helping families, and these ideas and inventions are just going to sit and not be used, and so I'm going to give them away in hopes that you, people you know, people you love, people in your community might take some of these things and adopt them and make businesses, make money off them, and create these things to help folks. So the one I want to talk about today in this video is a new way of voting. So with the coronavirus and with like the debacle that just occurred in Wisconsin, there's some debate about mail-in voting, etc., and its efficacy and safety, and if it actually, if people are hacking it, and there's thousands of people who are in living rooms filling out ballots, etc. And so many years ago, me and my friend Paul Neal were talking about how to make a new way of voting that was fair, could be done online and remotely, and that couldn't be hacked. And so we talked a lot about it, and actually Paul ended up going to university to study computer science so that he could work on this and other ideas as well. And over the time we've sort of stopped talking about that, and it's not been part of our agenda, but sort of the recent life that we are all forced to deal with right now sort of brought this up again as something important. So I wanted to put this out in the public realm for you all to think about and talk about it. So some of the challenges around mail-in voting or electronic voting is that if one person can have more than one vote, then it creates an unfairness. And so the way to get around that is that you have a system that's linked up. Your ballot has a special code, and you have a code. You have your social security number. In theory, there's only one per human being in the United States. And so when you fill out your ballot, you can do it online, enter your specific ballot code. Okay? You can even add things like fingerprint scanners. It's really cheap and easy nowadays to add a USB fingerprint scanner or even a retinal scanner. That's a thing now that you can do to have some extra level of protection if that's the level of protection we need to make this actually function correctly. But basically, you have this unique identifier on your ballot. Fill out your ballot, you mail it in. You go onto an online voting system, and you enter that ballot as well electronically with your unique ballot identifier as well as your social. When the ballot gets checked and counted, the unique identifier that accompanies your ballot, it gets logged into the system. It sees that you have also done the same thing online, and it verifies, does this ballot match what the person entered onto the online site, and does its unique identifier match with the social security number and the vote? And it can confirm that these two things are the same, and can have a question that it's sent to the user either through an anonymous, like Craigslist anonymized email that gets mailed to the user. It says, we received your ballot. Is this what you voted for? If yes, click yes. Then it's confirmed, third-party verified. Now we have accuracy and truth within an online/paper balloting system. Now, this addresses almost every concern that people have about voting's safety. So you have a paper ballot backup, you have an online voting, there's a unique identifier and your social security number that sort of link together to make sure that you're doing it right, and can have that extra level of security with a third-party email verification through an anonymous email, because we don't want people's social security numbers and who they vote for to be connected. So we want these to be separate, and it can be encrypted through software technology, as well as having another level if we want to, like include fingerprint or retina IDs or something like that you can USB onto your computer to confirm your identity. Like, this can be done, this can be safe. We don't have to go to the physical polls to vote. Okay? The only reason why this is being passed around as a rhetoric is because there's some people who are in a party who benefit from stopping people from going to the polls. And if you can stop people from going to the polls, you can stop their votes and you can manipulate the vote in your favor. But if people aren't required to go to the polls, then it's harder to stop them from voting. And I think that's really what America should be doing. That should be the goal of this thing. Now, I took this voting system to another level that I think is also really cool, and I want to mention in this because it's a new part of this thing. And so I feel like humans should be voting more often about more things in a variety of different settings, in your workplace, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your communities. I think there should be lots of opportunities for us to have a voice and have our voice be heard and counted. But voting, takes a lot of time and it's expensive, and the way it's currently done. And that if we had an electronic system that could verify and ensure that one person got one vote, we could have a lot more votes. And so this software program that I'm talking about would have another level to it where individuals could be part of groups that had group voting rights. For example, I live in Bellingham, Washington. I live on a street in Bellingham, Washington. When I enter this system, I log in, I enter my address, and it puts me on a system where I have voting rights on my street for things related to people who live in my street. I have voting rights within my neighborhood, the Cornwall Park neighborhood. I am entered into their group because of where I live. The Bellingham, Washington group, I am entered into that group. The legislative district I live in, the congressional district I live in, the state that I live in, the country that I live in, the planet that I live in. And so you are automatically entered into a variety of voting groups based on where you live. But you can also join groups that you're part of, your employment. You can create your workplace voting group where what happens is, so now you're part of these groups. What does that mean? Well, on the Cornwall Park neighborhood, somebody puts up an idea, hey, we really should have the potholes replaced on this street because it's becoming a problem. Once a certain threshold of people who are part of that group agree that this is something we should vote on, it gets brought up to a vote, and everybody who's a member of that group gets to vote on the thing that was brought up for a vote. During that time, now people can present the arguments for and against, backed up with data and proof of why such and such thing should happen or shouldn't happen. And then there's a window of time before voting is closed. And then after voting is closed, you get this advisory vote for the Cornwall Park neighborhood that states that X percentage of the people who live in this community want these potholes fixed. And then that they can use to bring forth to the people who make those decisions to say, hey, we ran a poll, 75% of people who live in Cornwall Park neighborhood thinks these potholes should be fixed in these two streets. Same thing for your workplace. 10%. So say the threshold for a vote is 10% of individuals within a group. So I work at a large retail store. They're not providing COVID masks and gloves to the workers. 30% of the people say we need to vote on this. There's a vote. All of the points for and against are brought forward. There's a vote. Now you bring to the administration of that business. Look, 85% of the people who work here think this is awful. Our shoppers who are also part of it. So you could become like a member of a group as somebody who uses a business, not necessarily as a worker of the business, but the shoppers of such and such retail shop voting group. And you can have, talk about a product or a service that is done by this business in order to get this business to improve what they're doing. So same thing is true. You can start looking at big national issues that are important in the America group, and you can put forward your idea for America. And if 10% of Americans see that and are like, I want that, they can call forth a vote to see what all of the people within that group feel about the certain thing. These are advisory votes, so they're not necessarily making law and decision, but they're advising the leaders on sort of the way that the people are feeling and what the people are wanting to hopefully help them make decisions that are actually affecting the people who are making these votes and who feel these certain ways, helping meet their needs. Because right now, I don't think politicians and leaders are listening to us. I don't think they care about us because they're not getting feedback, and that feedback is manipulated and not necessarily true of who supports what. If it's a vote, if everybody gets one vote, if all the people who are within that group have that one vote, then you can really see what people are thinking about certain things. I think this would really help with our voting. And then again, make sure that the votes are just one vote per person, and that will address through security measures most of the issues and challenges that are raised about voting by mail, even though there are states that are both Republican and Democrat that use vote by mail successfully. People are going to argue against it because it is against their wishes, because they feel like they can't win elections if people vote by mail and don't vote in person because they can't be stopped. So you need an opportunity to vote, and this is a system that could be developed, and I don't think it's that super hard of a system. I think the technology exists currently to develop something like this. So if you're into software and this is something that interests you, please utilize this, make this happen, share it with me, share it with others, make millions off of it if you want. I think this is the kind of thing that you charge like $1 for lifetime membership onto this, and you just get millions of people to sign up for it, hundreds of millions of people to sign up for it, and then there's your money. So I think this is a system that could be really helpful to people, and then we need a new way to vote. I don't think it's working. So if you like this idea and any of the other ideas that I presented here, it'd be great if you could go to Peace Centers, PEACE centers.org, make a monthly donation to help us keep serving families, and please share and use these ideas, inventions, systems to help make the world a better place. Peace. James Bauckman from Peace Centers.